Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, today I have another Letterboxd recap for you guys, and this time it's going to be everything that I watched in the month of September. I watched a lot of amazing movies in September, so I don't want to waste any time. Let's just get into it. So starting off the month with some magic, I watched Ever After from 1998, starring Drew Barrymore. I was just in a magical mood. I wanted to watch something whimsical to start off September, something that was sort of a fairy tale, which you'll see is a theme for the month of September. I really craved watching more lighthearted films this month as opposed to horror. Films that bring me joy in other ways. But yeah, I had never seen Ever After before. This was my first time watch. I remember my older sister had the VHS tape for it, but I never actually watched it. But I had a lot of fun watching this film. Drew Barrymore is gorgeous in this. It's kind of hard to believe this came out the same year as The Wedding Singer, which I also love. But yeah, I really do wish I watched this as a child, but it was still a really comforting watch and a really magical way to start off September. Next film I watched in September was When Harry Met Sally. So we've officially hit Meg Ryan fall. This was a rewatch for me. I watched it for the first time years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, so I didn't really remember much about it, so it kind of was like a first time watch for me, but I really did end up enjoying it. It's just such a wholesome 80s romantic comedy. When it started, I was a little worried because Harry annoyed the crap out of me, but he grew on me as the film progressed. And hands down, one of the best sweaters in cinema history. But yeah, anyways, this really got me into the fall mood, so I'm super glad that I watched it. Okay, next film I watched in September, continuing Meg Ryan fall, I watched Sleepless in Seattle. Now, this was a first time watch for me. I had only ever heard of this film before. Again, we had the VHS tape and I've seen the cover a million times. Very similar to When Harry Met Sally. I rated both of these films 3.5 stars, and I also rated Ever After 3.5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that, I can't remember, but yeah, anyways, this definitely had the same vibes. I hate using that word. This kind of felt a little bit more Christmassy, but I had a blast with this one. Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, warm, cozy, magical feels. It really was what I needed and is a new favorite for sure. Okay, so next film I watched in September, Dalton and I rewatched the original Beetlejuice in preparation for the new Beetlejuice. Listen, I am a Beetlejuice girl. I've always loved Beetlejuice. I've seen it so many times. It was always on rotation in our household growing up. It is such a comfort movie for me. I swear I can quote the whole thing, and I know this is the case for a lot of you as well. And I had a freaking blast rewatching this. It's hilarious. It's such a good time, so nostalgic, and it's the perfect time of year to rewatch this. I gave it 4.5 stars, but honestly, I could give it 5 stars. It's iconic. With that being said, the next film we watched in September was the new sequel, Beetlejuice. And you know, judging from just the trailer, I was like, okay, it looks like it's gonna be fine. I actually ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. It had the perfect amount of charm, camp, silliness, comedy. It felt like a treat for fans of the original without being too fan servicey, in my opinion. Of course, not as amazing as the original. Nothing could be. The original is near perfection, honestly, but I really did enjoy myself with this one, and I can totally see myself rewatching it again. Okay, so next movie I watched in September was actually Dalton's suggestion, mostly because of the sequel that's coming out. We watched Joker from 2019, and he had seen this before, but I hadn't. Yes, you heard that right. I had never seen Joker before. I just typically don't gravitate towards those types of movies and those types of universes, but Dalton was positive that I would enjoy this, and he was totally right. I thought this film was incredible, and obviously I know it's critically acclaimed, so I knew I probably wasn't going to be super disappointed. This had a level of realism to it that really disturbed me to my core. Anything that depicts mental illness in such a raw way just really gets to me, and this does that. But I wound up giving this 4 stars. I'm so glad that I finally watched it after years of sleeping on it, and I'm super excited for the sequel. Alrighty, next next movie I watched in September was Practical Magic from 1998. I cannot even begin to describe the joy that this movie brings me. And it's funny because very similar to Ever After, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, we had the VHS taped Practical Magic growing up, and I watched it a few times and I've always liked it, but just recently I had this urge to rewatch it and I'm just like obsessed now. It's just such a feel-good, warm, magical, cozy watch. Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in this. I don't think anyone has ever looked better on film. I'm currently reading Magic Lessons, which is the prequel to Practical Magic. Haven't actually read Practical Magic yet. I don't know why I didn't just start with that one, but whatever. I am ecstatic for the supposed sequel coming next year, so hang on to your husbands, girls. Alrighty, next in September, Dalton and I rewatched Back to the Future. This was for a Patreon audio commentary, so head on over to my Patreon if you're interested in the full-length audio commentary for Back to the Future. But yeah, it's Back to the Future. It's an all-time classic. What more can I say about Back to the Future? It's one of those films you can watch literally any time of year, at any age, and it's always going to make you feel so warm inside, and you're always gonna have a blast watching it. I'm sure most of you guys would agree with me on that. Okay, next film I watched in September. I was feeling pretty nostalgic and I wanted to watch something really cozy and sweet. Again, that's a theme for the month of September. I watched It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And this is only 25 minutes long, of course, but the amount of joy that this brought me the day that I watched it is truly unmatched. This curled up in front of a cozy fireplace or just with some candles. Yes, yes. And I will probably rewatch this before Halloween as well, so be prepared to see it on the next Letterboxd recap. Alrighty, next film I watched in September, continuing with Meg Ryan Fall, I watched You've Got Mail. This, again, was a film that I know we had on VHS, but I just never actually watched it. And let me tell you, I actually enjoyed this more than When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle. I gave this one 4 stars. It's just so magical. I'm obsessed with the little bookshop that Meg Ryan works in this film. And this is just the perfect time of year, again, to watch this film. So if you haven't seen it, highly, highly recommend. Perfect autumn vibes, perfect 90s vibes. 1998, America Online, baby. Just perfection. Okay, next film we watched in September. You guys are actually gonna be shocked, I think, to find out that I've never watched this before. I mean, I'm honestly kind of shocked myself because it's an absolute all-time classic, and that is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I know, you can unsubscribe right now, you can throw me in the trash. I'd never seen Willy Wonka before. I had seen clips from this film, of course. I knew some of the songs, but one day Dalton and I just were both in the mood for this type of film, so we just popped it in and watched it. And I am so happy that we did because I actually felt changed after watching this. You know, movies that just give you that healing feeling after watching them. This did that for me. There's a certain warmth, a certain joy that's just indescribable. And yeah, that's what I experienced watching this film. It's gonna be something that I rewatch all the time now. And yes, it did take me 29 years to actually watch this, but here we are now, and all is well. Okay, next film we watched in September is another film from childhood that I know I had seen before, but it had been such a long time since I rewatched it, so it kind of felt like a first time watch. I'm sure all you guys have seen Casper from 1995. This is just such a cute little film. Definitely cheesy, but in all the best ways. Again, it has those autumn vibes, perfect time of year for this. Baby Christina Ricci, baby Devon Sawa. What more could you ask for? Alrighty, so next film I watched. I rewatched Practical Magic. Sue me. 5 stars. Next film was another rewatch, something that I again hadn't seen in such a long time, and it was so much fun rewatching this. Edward Scissorhands. I actually really enjoyed it a lot more this time around than from what I can remember. Amazing, amazing film. Okay, so we only have 2 films left. The next film I watched in September was actually A first time watch for me, I watched The Black Phone from 2021. This was for my Patreon, so again, head over to my Patreon if you're interested for the full-length audio commentary for The Black Phone. But yeah, like I mentioned, this was a first time watch. This film had been on my radar for years. I had heard mixed things about it. The only thing I really knew about it was that it starred Ethan Hawke and that it was Blumhouse, but I just never actually watched it. But I'm super glad that I finally watched it because I thought it was a really well done thriller. I talk about this in my commentary for it, but the only thing that I wasn't a super big fan of was the dead kids, but that's just kind of more of a personal preference on my end. I'm just not a fan of dead kids. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, but I would totally be down to rewatch it. Alrighty, last film I watched in September was another rewatch, and that was Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. The reaction and review for the film will be coming up on my channel pretty soon here, so stay tuned. We're continuing the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm not going to talk too much about it in this video. You can go ahead and check out the video when it comes out if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the film. But yeah, it's the final chapter, everyone's supposed favorite. Probably my second favorite. Part 2 is still superior in my humble opinion, but it's still a super fun watch. Okay guys, so that was everything that I watched in September. A super great month for me. I rewatched a lot of classics, a lot of comfort films, a lot of films that put me in the fall mood, if you couldn't tell, but also watched a few films for the first time that I'm super happy about that have become my favorites. So let me know what you guys watched in September. Check out my Patreon if you're interested. I'll have that and all my other links in the description box below. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please take care, and I'll see you in my next video.